Hello everyone, this is Miss Rodea, and this video is to show you the lesson for the week. So this is task number 1. Um, Obviously the bell ringer, we don't exactly have bell ringers because we don't have a bell currently, but what I would like you to do is take a moment, take a deep breath, in, out, get comfortable, and let's start this lesson. So what we're going to cover today is we are going to review the plot diagram and foreshadowing. And then we have some new terms that we want to cover. And some of these might actually be review as well. But we're going to talk about theme and moral. We're going to talk about dialogue, imagery, symbolism. And then after you're done with this whole video, there will be a quiz for you guys to take. All right, so hopefully this plot diagram looks familiar to you all. So let's just quickly review what goes here. So first, we have your exposition. Now, as I'm doing this, if you would like, try to pause the video and see if you can remember what the definitions are before I tell you the definitions. So exposition is introducing the characters and the setting of the story. Now keep in mind the main characters that you might learn about during the exposition are the protagonist, so typically the good guy, and then the antagonist, which is usually the bad guy or the bad force that goes against the protagonist. And then the setting is the time and the place. All right, and then next we have the conflict, and the conflict isn't on this particular diagram, but we don't want to forget it. Conflict is a challenge or problem around which the story is based, so the main problem of the story. Then we have rising action. The rising action is the events that develop the story and lead up to the climax, okay? And you might want to think of this as the little problems that develop along the way. Then we have the climax. Now, the climax is kind of tricky, remember. So we're going to call this the turning point of the story, where the main conflict is solved, okay? The main problem is solved at this point. You might also learn the climax as being the moment of greatest tension. Then we have the falling action. The falling action is the events that occur after that climax and show that the story will end soon. And you can think of this as the little problems, those little problems that were there during the rising action, they are now being solved during the falling action. Then we have the resolution. And the resolution is the outcome or the ending of the story. It's kind of like you're happily ever after, sometimes. Okay, and that is our review for plot diagram. If you feel like you need to review those terms, I will post a link for a Quizlet so you can kind of practice those vocab words. Okay, and here is foreshadowing. The definition of foreshadowing is a hint of something that is going to happen without revealing the story or spoiling the suspense. It is used to suggest an upcoming outcome to the story. Now, in easy terms, foreshadowing is just something that predicts what is going to happen. And you all seem to know that very well. You all did a really good job with foreshadowing in the past. So Lion King actually has some really good examples of foreshadowing. So watch this clip.
Simba, let me tell you something that my father told me. Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars.
Really?
Yes. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you. And so will I.
Now, that scene in the movie is foreshadowing that Mufasa will die. Sorry if I just spoiled that movie, but I'm assuming that everyone has seen Lion King. But yeah, that's a really good example of foreshadowing. Okay, now let's move on to some new terminology. First, we have theme versus moral. I think we did talk about these a little bit, but let's talk about them again if we haven't. Theme is the central idea that the story is based on, and a lot of the times the theme is just a word or a phrase. So some examples of theme might be true love, community, togetherness, infection, survival. And actually, for these next couple of weeks, we're probably going to focus on like community, togetherness, survival, those types of themes. Now, moral is very similar, but it's the lesson that we need to take away from the story. And a lot of the times, the moral is a longer phrase or a complete sentence. So some examples are slow and steady wins the race. Be happy with what you have. Those are both examples of morals. Now, we are going to focus more on theme this week, but I do want you to understand the difference. Now, in Harry Potter, there are several themes and several morals. So we can see that some themes are friendship, choice, rebellion, and power. Some examples of morals are you never know what you are capable of until you try. True friendship can get you through anything. And face your fears. See how those are lessons that you can learn versus the themes or just kind of the ideas of the story. And then once again, we are going to focus on themes. All right, dialogue. Dialogue is a really important term that I want you all to understand. And really what it is, it's just a conversation between two or more people as a feature of a book, play, or movie. Okay? So when you're reading it in a story, you're definitely going to see quotation marks. Now here is an example. Watch this clip.
Can I pet that dog?
No.
Can I pet that dog?
No.
Can I pet that dog?
No, he's
Can I
sleeping.
pet that dog?
All right, you will see that in the video, they are having a dialogue. The little boy and his mom are having a dialogue, and if it was written in a story, it would look like this. You'd have all these quotation marks. Look how there's a comma on the inside of this no, and then a quotation mark outside. So just keep in mind, you will have to know this. This will come back. So just really take a look at how quotation marks and commas are used here. Imagery. And imagery is just visually descriptive language or figurative language in a story that makes us really picture what's going on. So here's an example of a sentence with no imagery. His mom baked him a cake for his birthday. Okay, kind of boring. I can't picture it that much. Now here's an example with imagery. His mom baked him a gorgeous chocolate cake for his birthday, containing 3 layers of cake separated by a light, creamy raspberry frosting and topped with 13 raspberries, 1 for each year of his life. Do you see how that version gives us a much better picture of the scene? We know that this is a gorgeous cake. We know that it's chocolate. We know that the frosting is light and creamy raspberry. We can picture what's going on. Now, here's another example of some imagery. His mom baked him a cake for his birthday, if you could call it that. He couldn't tell if the dark brown color indicated that it was chocolate or just that it was burned to a crisp. The cake was lopsided and frostingless, and his mom had stuck one little tea-light candle in the middle. So again, this could have still been this, first sentence, but this first sentence doesn't really tell us if it's a gorgeous cake or this kind of like burned, ugly, kind of sad little cake. But that's what imagery does. It helps us picture what's going on. All right, next we have symbolism. Symbolism is when we have an object that represents another object, idea, or quality. So some common examples that you may have seen or heard of before, we have a dove, and a lot of the times a dove symbolizes peace. Another example we have is a black cat. I don't know about other cultures, but in American culture, black cats usually symbolize bad luck. So that's another thing, is symbols can be different in different cultures. Here are some other examples of symbolism. So again, those of you who were here with me first semester, you will remember some of these symbols from holes. So in holes, onions symbolize health and healing. Sam sells onions to cure a myriad of physical ills. They are, quote, good for the digestion, the liver, the stomach, the lungs, the heart, and the brain. And we know from other parts of the story how onions really do kind of symbolize good things in the story. There's my source for that quote. All right, and that brings us to the end of the lesson. Now, there is a quiz in this assignment. So I do want to challenge you, try and take the quiz without referring to the video and the PowerPoint, but if you need to, that's okay. But I do hope that you have learned these terms and that you remember them throughout the week and the following weeks. So that is it for now. Good luck on the quiz. Bye.